Yet another pleasant day arose on the disk. As every other day, the sun's rays slowly enveloped the land, disproportionately due to its rather bizarre magical field. It rolled down the land like honey. It was so thick that if a wizard were to transform it into such, they would find themselves flung 5,000 years into the future due to the apparent nature of honey's cryogenic properties, something which hardly anyone talks of. On this fine unfolding day, the inhabitants of the disk were reminiscing of what happened the day prior, that being the near end of the world. Rincewind was still at the docks, hounded on by his new lifelong companion, the luggage. It jumped around him like a dog, expecting to have a bone thrown at it. He sighed and started off to the nearest bar. It jauntily hopped after him. He eventually reached and entered, taking a seat next to the librarian, who was transformed into an orangutan. He was pouring 2 jugs of beer into his mouth. Rincewind ignored him and took a seat as usual. The luggage went between him and the librarian. That was when he remembered this shouldn't be here. Of course, that could be said for the world too, but even more so the bar he found himself in. You see, just around half a year back, it was destroyed in a rather massive fire. Something overseen by death. Rincewind doesn't know this, but it's something he could easily infer. Of course, it had a different name now. The Fixade drum. It's not that no one noticed the incorrect spelling, but rather that it gave it a certain sense of class. From simply being pronounced as fixed to fixade. Beyond that, new owner's equipment was in constant disrepair, so the idea that the spelling of fixed was wrong never crossed him. Not to mention how people thought it was intentional. Layout and general placement of everything still stayed the same, however, which was what initially fooled Rincewind, considering his immense need for familiarity after his home-sickening journey with Two-Flower. Of course, now that he was home, he was still sick, just for different reasons. Even still, the face of the new barman was the same as the last. Rincewind gulped, considering the pyromania the last owner had a knack for towards the end of what can be said to be a short-lived career. Yarg! The barman looked around before staring at Rincewind. Are you going to order something, or would you like me to send you out? Would you happen to be a zombie? The man stared at him. Rincewind gulped as the wheels started to turn in the man's head. They were working themselves quite hard and were seemingly overheating, as told by the man's now red face. Zombie! Do I look pale and The man's face immediately plunged down. You knew my twin brother? By twin brother, would you mean the previous owner of this place? The man gave a mute nod. You could say that. I was what one may consider a regular. Then you must know that this place was his lifelong dream. Something he has entrusted to me, Twin 2. Vincent suppressed the truth from his mind, considering it would mean a ban for him. Yes, it was quite sad to see it burn down. Twin 2 sheds a single tear. Vincent tries generating one, but miserably fails. The barkeep sniffles. I guess that's how things are. Boo. Ook! The librarian presents him with a banana. Before he could respond, before anyone could respond, a massive explosion was heard from outside. Of course, it happened in less than even half a second. This had an obvious cause to it, too. If you haven't figured it out by now, maybe the closest person to it could explain. A lone wizard stood atop the Tower of Art. It was a slow-moving day at Unseen University. He looked up at the sun, only he couldn't see it anymore. It seemed as if it had disappeared from the horizon. And yet, light was still covering the land. Of course, it felt different now. It was no longer the honey of a new morning. It was hot. Unbearably hot. It felt like he was being burnt at the stake. In a way, he was. He once again looked up at the sky, where the sun should be, stood a figure, a bony figure bathed in light. Its eyes were hollow sockets, and yet he knew it was watching him. He knew it was judging him. It wasn't the same judgment the universe made when a man died. It wasn't the same judgment death made when a man died. No, it was a very different kind of judgment. It was the type of judgment a person who only believed in themselves made. Its judgment was simple. Death. The explosion ran throughout the land as Ankh-Morpork was no longer on any map, and neither did it even exist. A skeleton who was beyond death made sure of it. I believe it would be for the best if we were to leave at this very moment. What even killed me? Sense the skeleton. As the light fell on Rincewind, he was already running to the door. Only on the other side, he didn't find the world being raptured in front of him, but a woman who considered him her greatest rival. This was the first time he met her. If you are a new viewer, I welcome you to Undertall. If you are a regular or have come back, I still welcome you. I hope I have conveyed the tone of what you shall be watching today. Sen stared at the charred land. He had reached his judgment. He decided he'd savor his actions this time. He